What happens when the worlds of reality TV drama and church pews collide? Fans are in shock after seeing Chrisean Rock, yes, the same Chrisean known for her wild headlines, and Shaunie O'Neal, the first lady of a megachurch, both stepping into the spotlight under the name of faith. But the question on everyone's mind is this: is this a genuine walk toward salvation or just another performance for the cameras? Stay tuned, because what we uncovered will leave you questioning everything. When the names Chrisean Rock and Shaunie O'Neal show up in the same conversation, it instantly raises eyebrows. On one side, you have Chrisean Rock, unapologetic, unpredictable, and often at the center of social media storms. On the other side, you have Shaunie O'Neal, widely respected, once known as the face of basketball wives, and now the first lady of one of the most prominent Black churches in the country, alongside her husband, Pastor Keion Henderson. So when clips and photos began circulating of Chrisean Rock appearing in church settings, while Shaunie O'Neal was simultaneously stepping into her role as a spiritual leader, the internet lit up with questions. Was this real repentance? Was Chrisean seeking salvation? Or was it just another viral moment? And how does Shaunie's new position of influence fit into a culture where celebrity, faith, and entertainment constantly overlap? This is where things get interesting. In today's video, we're diving deep into what's really happening. We'll explore Chrisean Rock's recent moves toward church and what insiders are saying about her intentions. We'll break down Shaunie O'Neal's transformation from reality TV mogul to church first lady and how the world is reacting. And most importantly, we'll ask the tough questions. Is this the start of a spiritual revival, or is the church just becoming another stage for celebrity branding? Make sure you watch until the very end, because the connections we're about to uncover may change how you see both Chrisean Rock and Shaunie O'Neal. And they raise bigger questions about the relationship between fame, faith, and authenticity in today's culture. To understand why Chrisean Rock's presence in the church has stirred so much conversation, you have to first look at the journey that got her here. Chrisean has always been a lightning rod for attention, and much of it has been tied to her volatile relationship with rapper Blueface. Their drama-filled romance played out like a reality show on Instagram Live, blogs, and even television, with fights, arrests, and public meltdowns becoming part of her brand. For many, Chrisean symbolized raw chaos, a woman who loved hard, fought harder, and refused to let the world silence her. But with every viral altercation, concern grew about her well-being. Videos of her crying, screaming, or lashing out became the norm, leaving fans torn between empathy and criticism. Some saw her as a victim caught in a toxic cycle, while others viewed her as someone addicted to attention. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In the past year, subtle shifts began showing in Chrisean's life. After giving birth to her son, she started speaking publicly about wanting to break generational curses and provide a better future for her child. Motherhood forced her to reflect in ways fans hadn't seen before, and suddenly, the same Chrisean who was once trending for fights was being spotted in environments people never expected, like church. Clips began circulating online of Chrisean in worship services, sometimes emotional, other times appearing reflective and quiet. For an audience used to seeing her wild and untamed, this softer, spiritual side sparked debate. Was this a genuine search for God, or just another performance in a life that often blurs the line between reality and spectacle? Adding fuel to the fire, Chrisean herself began posting captions hinting at faith and redemption. She talked about praying for strength, leaning on God, and even trying to heal from past trauma. These weren't the kinds of messages her followers were used to, and they immediately divided public opinion. Supporters celebrated her transformation, calling it the beginning of a spiritual awakening. Critics, however, doubted her sincerity, labeling it a publicity move or temporary phase. But regardless of the debate, one thing is clear: Chrisean's steps into the church aren't happening in isolation. They're unfolding at the same time that Shaunie O'Neal is establishing her position as a first lady, which has led many to connect the dots and ask bigger questions. Could this be a larger movement of celebrities seeking spiritual grounding, or is it simply a reflection of how fame, faith, and influence intersect in today's culture? And here's the part that keeps people watching closely. Sources close to Chrisean have hinted that she's been actively attending services, not just showing up for a photo op. If that's true, it could mean she's serious about transformation. But whether she can separate her public persona from her private journey is the challenge that will determine how long this chapter lasts. But as much as Chrisean's story is captivating, she isn't the only one shaking up conversations about faith and fame, because at the very same time, Shaunie O'Neal has stepped fully into her role as a church leader, raising a whole new set of questions about how entertainment and salvation intertwine. When most people hear the name Shaunie O'Neal, the first thing that comes to mind is VH1's hit series Basketball Wives. As the executive producer and one of the main stars, Shaunie built a reputation as a savvy businesswoman who knew how to turn drama into ratings. The show gave viewers an inside look into the lives of NBA wives and girlfriends, but it was also infamous for its explosive fights, backstabbing storylines, and constant feuds. Shaunie's role was often twofold. She was both the voice of reason and the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. That's why her next chapter surprised so many. When Shaunie married Pastor Keion Henderson in 2022, she stepped into a completely different world, the world of the church. Pastor Keion is a respected figure, known for his leadership at the Lighthouse Church in Houston, Texas, one of the fastest-growing congregations in the country. His sermons reach thousands in person and millions online, and his teachings have positioned him as a rising voice in modern ministry. By marrying him, Shaunie didn't just become a pastor's wife, she became the first lady of the church, a role that carries enormous responsibility and influence. For those unfamiliar in many Black churches, the first lady is not just a title. She's seen as a spiritual mother to the congregation, someone who sets an example of grace, leadership, and faith. For Shaunie, this meant shifting from reality TV drama to spiritual mentorship, and that transition has been nothing short of fascinating to watch. But here's where it gets complicated. Critics have questioned whether someone with Shaunie's background, especially her history of producing and starring in shows filled with conflict, could authentically step into such a sacred role. Detractors argue that her past as the architect of reality TV drama clashes with the moral and spiritual expectations of being a first lady. On the other hand, supporters believe her journey reflects transformation, redemption, and the power of growth. After all, who better to lead people into faith than someone who knows firsthand about life's messiness and mistakes? Shaunie herself has spoken about this transformation. In interviews, she's admitted that her past doesn't define her future, and that her marriage to Pastor Keion has brought her closer to God. She's been seen more often in church settings, speaking to women about empowerment, marriage, and spiritual growth. For many, this is inspiring. It shows that someone who built her empire on entertainment can also step into a higher calling. What makes this especially intriguing is the timing. Shaunie's rise as a first lady is happening in parallel with celebrities like Chrisean Rock making headlines for stepping into church spaces. To some, it looks like a pattern, almost as if the entertainment world is shifting toward faith-based narratives. To others, it feels like another blending of Hollywood and the pulpit, a place where influence, branding, and spirituality all meet. And here's the kicker. Shaunie's position means she's not just a participant in this trend, she's a gatekeeper. As the first lady of such a prominent church, her influence can shape how the public views celebrity involvement in faith communities. If she embodies grace, humility, and true transformation, she could silence critics and open the door for others like Chrisean to follow suit. But if her leadership feels like a publicity stunt, it could fuel the skepticism already surrounding celebrity spirituality. So, what we're really seeing with Shaunie O'Neal is not just a personal transformation, it's a cultural case study. She stands at the intersection of fame and faith, raising critical questions. Can a reality TV mogul become a respected church leader? And will her past forever shadow her present role? Or can she redefine what it means to be a first lady in a modern, celebrity-driven age? But this story doesn't end with Chrisean and Shaunie as individuals. When you put these two narratives side by side, Chrisean stepping into church spaces and Shaunie stepping into spiritual leadership, the conversation becomes much bigger. It's no longer just about their personal choices. It's about what happens when celebrity culture collides with the sacred. The appearance of figures like Chrisean Rock and Shaunie O'Neal in church spaces raises one of the most pressing questions of our time. Is this about real salvation, or is it another extension of celebrity culture? Historically, the church has been a place of refuge, a sanctuary where people come to heal, reflect, and reconnect with God. But in today's era of viral clips, social media branding, and influencer culture, the church itself is not immune to the pull of entertainment. Services are live streamed, sermons are clipped for TikTok. Even worship has become a stage where millions of eyes can watch and critique. In that kind of environment, when a celebrity steps through the doors, their presence automatically becomes content, whether they intended it to or not. Chrisean Rock's story highlights this tension perfectly. On one hand, people are celebrating her steps toward God. They argue that no matter what her past has been, whether it's public fights, toxic relationships, or questionable decisions, faith is about redemption. They see her showing up in church as proof that she wants better, not just for herself, but for her child. But then there's the other side. Critics who say her appearances feel performative. They point out the cameras, the social media posts, the fact that everything Chrisean does seems to be wrapped up in spectacle. To them, it's hard to separate sincerity from strategy. Shaunie O'Neal faces a similar duality. As the first lady of a megachurch, she's supposed to represent humility, grace, and spiritual authority. Yet, because of her celebrity status, people often view her role through the lens of entertainment. Her marriage to Pastor Keion Henderson wasn't just a union of two people. It was a headline event, covered by outlets like Essence and People magazine. For some, that elevated the visibility of Black love and faith leadership. For others, it blurred the line between sacred vows and a publicity rollout. This tension between faith and fame is not new. Over the years, we've seen countless celebrities make public professions of faith. Think about Kanye West's Sunday services, which drew massive crowds but also sparked debates about whether it was genuine worship or a rebranding effort. Or Justin Bieber, who openly credits Hillsong Church and pastors for helping him through struggles, yet still receives side-eye from critics who question his authenticity. In many ways, Chrisean and Shaunie are stepping into this same complicated narrative. How do you balance celebrity influence with spiritual authenticity? And here's where the stakes get higher. When celebrities enter church spaces, they don't just impact themselves. They shape how younger audiences view faith altogether. For Gen Z and millennials, who are already skeptical about organized religion, seeing someone like Chrisean Rock in church can either spark curiosity or deepen distrust. If her journey is genuine, it might inspire thousands to reconsider their own spiritual lives. But if it feels like another publicity stunt, it could reinforce the idea that faith is just another marketing tool in the entertainment industry. Let's also talk about the churches themselves. When high-profile figures walk through those doors, the church has to navigate its own role carefully. Do they embrace celebrities publicly, knowing it could bring attention and new members? Or do they treat them like everyone else, even if it means losing out on the influence and visibility that comes with fame? Pastor Keion Henderson and Shaunie O'Neal are right in the middle of that balancing act. Their church is now a magnet for attention, not just from believers, but from bloggers, paparazzi, and critics who want to analyze every move. But here's the shocking part most people aren't talking about. The blending of faith and fame isn't just accidental, it's strategic. Churches with celebrity connections often see spikes in attendance, donations, and online visibility. And for celebrities, aligning with faith can soften their image, broaden their audience, and even open doors to new opportunities in media and business. So while the conversation appears to be about salvation, the undercurrent is often about influence, branding, and power. That's why the question, faith or fame, doesn't have an easy answer. For Chrisean, it could be both, an authentic desire to heal and a natural extension of her public life. For Shaunie, it could be both, a true calling as a first lady and a chance to redefine her brand beyond reality TV. The real tension lies in whether the public will accept these dual identities or demand that celebrities choose one lane, entertainment or salvation. And the cliffhanger, the way Chrisean and Shaunie navigate the coming months, will determine whether this conversation is remembered as a revival or as another case of the church being used as a backdrop for celebrity culture. As soon as Chrisean Rock and Shaunie O'Neal's appearances in church went viral, social media erupted. The internet's reaction was immediate, intense, and highly polarized, showing just how divided public opinion is when celebrity culture intersects with faith. On one side, fans celebrated the move as a genuine sign of transformation. Many praised Chrisean for taking steps to heal and redirect her life, pointing out that nobody is perfect and everyone deserves the chance to grow. Social media accounts flooded with hashtags like #Chrisean Redeemed and #Faith Over Fame, reflecting hope that the young star was using her platform for positive influence. Supporters argued that if someone with a controversial past can seek God and work on themselves publicly, it might inspire countless followers who are struggling with their own battles. Shaunie O'Neal, meanwhile, received applause from those who admired her journey from reality TV mogul to church leader. Fans pointed out that Shaunie's evolution demonstrated how celebrities could leverage their visibility to empower communities, mentor women, and uplift congregations. Many noted that her influence extended beyond entertainment and that her role as a First Lady could help normalize faith as a positive force in the lives of young Black audiences. But as always, critics had plenty to say. For Chrisean, skepticism dominated online forums. Detractors questioned whether her church appearances were authentic or merely staged for views, likes, and publicity. Some even accused her of trying to clean up her image for the cameras, highlighting the irony of someone known for dramatic, chaotic behavior suddenly stepping into a spiritual spotlight. Comments ranged from disbelief, "Is she serious about God, or is this just for clout?" to harsh criticism comparing her new persona to a performance. Shaunie faced a different kind of scrutiny. While many admired her transformation, others questioned whether her celebrity status could coexist with the humility and spiritual authority expected of a First Lady. Critics argued that the attention she brings could overshadow the pastor's ministry or distract from the spiritual mission of the church. Some even accused her of turning sacred spaces into stages, suggesting that celebrity influence could dilute authentic worship experiences. The divide wasn't just about personal opinion. It spilled into the larger conversation about culture, faith, and public perception. Influencers, podcasters, and even mainstream media outlets weighed in, dissecting every Instagram post, sermon clip, and church appearance. Commentary ranged from, "This is a new era of celebrity redemption," to "Faith is being weaponized as a PR tool," highlighting just how complicated this intersection has become. What's particularly fascinating is how younger audiences reacted. Gen Z and millennial followers, who make up a significant portion of both Chrisean and Shaunie's fan bases, seemed torn between admiration and cynicism. Many were inspired by Chrisean's vulnerability and Shaunie's leadership, seeing them as examples that you can evolve beyond your past. Others, however, argued that celebrities entering spiritual spaces too quickly without accountability risk creating a culture where faith is performative rather than genuine. And here's the part most people overlook. The backlash itself reinforces attention. Every skeptical tweet, every critical post, every debate about authenticity contributes to the viral nature of the story. Suddenly, the question of faith versus fame is no longer confined to church walls. It becomes a national conversation about values, authenticity, and the influence of celebrity culture on spiritual spaces. What makes this section of the story so compelling is that it's still unfolding. Fans and critics alike are watching every move Chrisean and Shaunie make, from Instagram stories to sermon appearances, searching for clues about who they are and what they truly represent. And that scrutiny puts pressure on both women. Can they maintain authenticity under a microscope while navigating their public personas and private faith journeys?